I'm trying to hit this really quick. That was one of those, after I said really quick, that was a response to really quick. But I feel like the time is not the issue. It's actually the explanation of what I'm trying to say. I promise I'll stop doing the play-by-play on all of my reactions. We are at the beginning phase of something that we feel like here at the church, or at least the leadership, is on the verge of something. What is something? Well, we don't know what it is. We know, though, that it's a culmination of a lot of prophetic words that have been spoken over this house, all having to do with the similar common denominator, which is about export. So export looks like a lot of different things. Export can look like a church plant. Export can look like a short-term missions trip. Export can look like a long-term missions trip. But if you're thinking in terms, as we were thinking in those kind of terms, it's like the Lord kept going, no, you're looking too low. You need to raise. So you say, well, Jeff, what are you talking about? I'm so glad you asked. Sam and Tink McLeod, why don't you guys just come on up? I'm going to talk about them. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about them while they're up here. They're going to feel weird because I'm talking about them and they have nothing to say. Just stare at them. Okay? No, I'm just kidding. And so Sam and Tink McLeod. Well, who is Sam and Tink McLeod? These guys have been with us about 4, 5 years, because you said 4.5 years. They have, just to kind of help you, they have served in several different areas here at the church. I'm just naming them off by memory. Just remember, I've got a good memory, but it's really short. So if I leave one out, it's not because, but they've served with our youth for a couple of years in the leadership of our youth. They have served on the prophetic teams. They have served in the school of ministry. They have gone through the school of ministry. They have been small group leaders in the school of ministry, and just so on and so forth. So wherever you see, Grace Center, you're going to see people like these involved somewhere. So, do we have the picture? Last year, they went on an outreach to Australia and met up with our friends Gary and Sarah Morgan. Do you guys remember Gary and Sarah? Just a few people, really. We got that many people that don't know who Gary and Sarah are? Can you raise your hand? If you don't know who they are, it's not a big deal. We're just going to find you on your way. I'm just kidding. No. Oh, wow, that's amazing. So these guys, good friends of ours, Gary and Sarah. Gary is a prophet. I mean, major prophet. Like, I saw him do some stuff that I only read about, in books of days gone past, where he calls out, they're at first service, he calls out the Epps's sons, yeah, and got their daughter's address, got their son's name. They weren't here. The son and the daughter, they don't even go to church here. And so he's getting this, and he's like, do you understand what this name means? And I'm like, yeah. Do you understand what this number is? 1111. Well, it's about to change to, I think it's 1112 or something like that. Well, what was it? 1101. And it was going to change to 1110 or something like that. Anyway, not only did he pull out where the address of where their daughter is currently living, he also pulled out the address to where she's moving to. Now, if that doesn't get your attention about God knowing maybe where you are, I don't know what it is. Anyway, I was there, saw it, wouldn't believe it. I'm looking at you going, okay, I wonder if that's some sort of psychic crap. No, it's not. It's actually not. And so, I'm sorry I said crap. I'm so sorry. Well, I'm so sorry. For those of you that are watching, It's with a K, okay? I meant to say carp, okay? Verbal dyslexia. Okay, so these guys go over there, and for the school's mission trip, and so they're heading up this team. They're over there. While they're over there, Gary is like, "Hey, there's something about these guys that we really like." I'm gonna let you guys tell the story in just a minute. There's something about these guys we really like, and so they call and said, "Hey." Talk to Al and say, I think, what do you guys think about if we invited Sam and Tink to come over here and help us with the church stuff over here for maybe a year or so? And so we're like, yeah, great. And why don't you tell your... Oh, am I supposed to be doing this? The first time that you met Gary and Sarah? Or when you saw him here, yeah, what happened and how that whole thing. Then I'll pick up after that.
Okay.
We didn't rehearse this. I don't know if you could tell. But.
So about 3 or so years ago, I think it was the last time that Gary and Sarah were here, was for the Heaven Declares conference. And I was currently a student in the school, and Sam wasn't in the school with me yet. But I remember watching Gary and Sarah, and they had come to the school, and I'd seen them prophesy, I'd seen them speak several times. And at this conference, I was watching them, and I had this passing thought where I was like, man, they are my spiritual heroes. It would be so cool to work with them one day. It would just be so amazing to, first of all, meet them. And second of all, it'd just be really awesome to learn anything that we can from them. And so as I thought that passing thought, I remembered at the school we've learned that God cares about what we care about. And so I was like, Lord, that would be really amazing if that could happen. And I had this vision of us standing next to them at their church, which we hadn't seen before, in Australia. And Sam wasn't at the conference with me that night.
No, I was working. I was washing dishes
He
around
was
the
working.
same time.
So he was working, and right after I had that vision, Gary and Sarah called me to the front, and they gave me the most life-changing prophetic word that I'd ever received, and so did AJ. And then that night, Sam and I are just talking, and he's like, yeah, the weirdest thing happened tonight. I just had this, vision of us in Australia with them. And I was like, wait, what time did you have that? And he had it around the exact same time that I had the vision. So it was we were both connected in that. Then shortly after that, we start, we're just well, Lord, whatever you want to do, we'll wait and, just keep being us. And then we were getting, unknown calls from Melbourne that we had no idea who they were from, but it was from Melbourne. Then we had emails from Melbourne that we didn't even know how we subscribed to. And
I tried to unsubscribe, but it just didn't work. They kept coming. We tried to unsubscribe from these emails.
But we just kept getting more emails. And there were just random signs, even little hints from God where we would see the number 08 everywhere. And for us, 8 is new beginnings. And so we didn't really think anything of it, but then there were these doors that just kept opening with Gary and Sarah where they were even just pursuing us, for just contacting us through social media and just talking to us. And we were like, what is this favor that's happening? And at the time, we had been praying that God would highlight us somewhere. And so shortly after that, we found out that Australia was an outreach option for the school. And so Sam and I ended up going on that trip. And that was just enough for us to go for 3 weeks and to learn everything that we did from them. It was one of the best experiences we've ever had. And so we came back just feeling so filled up when we were like, that's what that was. That's what all this Australia talk was. We're so filled up. Now we're ready for whatever God wants. Yeah. And at the time we had seen 08 even more. And I remember even in a meeting with Jeff where he was he did the thing that he just did with her where he was and then,
for a while.
For a while. And he looked at us and he was like,
I don't do that.
So he looked at us and he goes, you guys are at a door right now. And I don't know what's behind it, but it's something really, really big. And at the time, we were feeling this anticipation, and then we told him that we had been seeing the number 08 everywhere, and he was like, oh, well, the amount of times that you see it is equivalent to the intensity that it happens in your life. And as soon as he said that, I looked over at Sam, and behind him was an analog clock that said 12:08. And I was like, okay, we'll take that and we'll run with it. 2 days later, Gary and Sarah, we had already been FaceTiming with them already, just making connection, and then that night, at 12:08, they asked us to come and move there.
Yeah.
And so that happened. And so, yeah, then we walked with it. We were like, this is absolutely from God. We just knew it was confirmation, especially the number thing. Everything was such confirmation for us. Then they told us about a visa that's only for Americans that they just released.
Yeah, last year.
And it's for married couples that are going over there to work. And the form document number for this visa is 1208.
Yeah.
So it's been a crazy journey. Yeah. And so now we've been preparing this last year. Sam and I were both leaders at the school, and this year's just been so amazing for us to prepare for this. And yeah, it's just been an honor. I mean,
Did you want to pick?
Well, I can. But you say something.
you can say what we're doing over there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to Australia. Yeah. No, but one thing they asked us to do is to work with their youth group and work with their young adults and kind of just, they gave us a blank canvas. They're like, you guys can do whatever you want. We just want what you guys have over there. And it made a lot of sense because the whole past 4 years has been us just being a sponge, soaking up everything we can here, serving wherever, and not expecting anything, just going wherever we feel the Spirit calling us. And then when all this happened, it was like, wow, like this is it. This is what we're going to do.
Awesome. So. All right. Cool. Okay, so we're going to pause right there. Yeah. So it looks like we're sending them out. Yes, that's true. Gary says, just, I don't know, a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, calls and said, hey, we're so excited about Sam and Tink coming over. Just wanted to ask you a question. What do you think Grace Center's responsibility in this should be? I give up? What? Actually, it wasn't even like that. We're actually just puzzled by why would you even ask that? I mean, you're the one that's getting two of our people. You're the one that's invited them. You know, if there's going to be any cost to this, it looks like it would be to you. And he said, I'm not even talking about cost. And so we're like, okay, what are you talking about? And he begins to talk about this DNA exchange. And but actually before that, James Gall came sometime right after that to Emanate. And James Gall said almost the exact same thing to Alan and AJ, like word for word even. You know, left out a few words like. So, sorry. But other than that, on point. So you're like, what's going on here? God's saying the exact same thing from two people across the world. He must be pointing to something that we can't see yet. And so I would say the Lord is pointing to something that we can't see. So we prayed about this and just kind of held it before the Lord loosely, like, what do you do with this? But the question is, Lord, what is our responsibility? Well, we feel like that in partnering with these guys and in partnering with Gary and Sarah and in partnering with the Holy Spirit, it feels like this is the first fruits of something that the Lord's wanting to build, and he's wanting us to step out in faith. And so we're going to step out in faith, and we just felt like, you know what, one of the ways we can do this is actually we could pay for their plane ticket there and back. And so that's what we're going to do. So I am trying to articulate something that I can't see. And I thought, man, you know, I'm kind of out to lunch here until I realized this is how God works. It talks about he called Abraham out of a place that was familiar to him and didn't show him where he was going. It was just yet to be determined. I thought, this kind of feels like that. So you say, well, Jeff, why are you saying this? I'm saying this because I think corporately that the Lord is building another extension, if you would, of Grace Center. I don't know what to call it. I just know that it involves export in varying degrees. And it's not just about short-term missions. It's not just about long-term missions, but it's actually, it includes that. It's absolutely inclusive of that. But it's like a both and. It's not an either or. It's a both and. And so I feel like that it would be just like Grace Center to recognize something like this and say, you know what? I don't know what this is, but I want to be a part of it. I want to sow into this. So actually, we're actually sowing in a different way because I'm not trying to get your money. I'm trying to say, hey guys, I'm trying to say something. Do you see an opportunity here? There's an opportunity here that we need to step into and be a part of. It can look as simple as simply sending someone to Australia, but it's not about that. It's about something that we've had several prophetic words about concerning Grace Center, and it's like the Lord saying, it's time. It's totally time. So, is there something else that you guys don't leave? No. So, we had said this last week. I don't know who all was here and who's not, but we're going to do it this week. We're actually going to take up an offering for these guys. If you want to give, whatever you want to give, why don't you ask the Lord, Lord, what do you want me to give? Or ask, do I even give? You can totally do that. It says in Scripture that the Lord hates a compulsive giver. So we give out of free will. But if you would, make your checks out to Grace Center. You can put in the memo something easy like Tink or Sam or Australia. But we feel like we are to at least do this part of it. Again, I don't know what it looks like. Do we do this for everybody? Probably not. And that was the other thing, is like, why are we doing it for them and not for everybody else? Because it seems like that the Lord, it is about them, but it's about something bigger. It's about, he's pointing to something that's almost like we're breaking ground, if you would, in the Spirit. So anyway, well, I'm sorry, yeah. So if you had the app, the Push Pay, I was going to say Go Push. The Push Pay app, it's under special offerings. So you can give online or you can give over your phone if you want to do it that way. Meanwhile, the ushers, if you guys would go ahead and start. We are going to officially send these guys out. We're going to pray over them. I guess it's next week because you leave the 25th? Wow, of June. Wow, so it's here. So we're going to do that. And so just to let you guys know that. Is there anything else? So anyway, thank you. Bless you guys. Love you guys.